Good morning. Let me make a confession right off the bat. I'm not in a very good mood in this moment. I was okay not too long ago, but as I tried to check my email, which I changed my Facebook email address to a new Hotmail account a week or so ago, and this morning I cannot open my own email account. Microsoft keeps giving me a hard time. And they said it might take 24 hours to reset my information. So I've gone on to Facebook and I've changed my email back to the original one that's not run through Microsoft, back to my Paradox Man Central Florida Roadrunner account, which is where it was most of the time, away from Hotmail. I get more than 500 emails a day on that account. And Microsoft just shut it down, so I'm back to the other account. But that frustrates me that Microsoft plays these games. I don't understand it. They want me to use passwords that I'm not going to remember, and I did that on one that I let LastPass generate the password, but I didn't write it down what it was, and then when I went, they wanted me to log in again. And I didn't have that thing, and LastPass didn't record it for me. So I was unable, after 3 tries, to get into my email account. Anyway, sorry to burden you with all that, but it irritates the heck out of me that they can't just let things work, and they have to make problems where there shouldn't be any problem. And Microsoft and actually Gmail, to a lesser extent, are notorious for messing with me along these lines. Forgive me for starting there, but that's where I am. That's what's going on in my world in this very moment, and my feeling is one of frustration. But let me proceed on to the topic that I chose and to the talk that I prepared. Insofar as the blurb and the title. The title is pretty much along the lines of yesterday: Stand or Surrender, the Other Side of the Paradox. From yesterday, quote, "Non-resistance, non-judgment, and non-attachment are the 3 aspects of true freedom and enlightened living." End quote. So says Eckhart Tolle in A New Earth. It is important when we read things like this that we understand the duality that exists in everything we read. Well, maybe most everything. This is why fundamentalism does not work. It is entirely left brain. It is why the Bible states that the letter kills, but the spirit gives life. One set of words to a left brain individual means only one thing, and it cannot mean anything else. Today I will take that quote and talk about the other meaning, the other side of the paradox. For those of you that have been listening a long time, you will realize that it was early on in my life, in the early 1980s, when Bruce Morgan said that paradox was my forte. And it's why when I began to set up email accounts, many of them contain the phrase paradox man, which I make one word, paradox man, because I've been told by Spirit and shown by Spirit throughout much of my adult life that life is a paradox, and as a fundamentalist Christian I had to learn to get outside the box and look at it from a different angle. I had to look at it as a mystic instead of as a scholar would look at something, or a scientist. To a scientist, it's precision, mathematics. It has to be exactly this way. Well, that's just simply not the way the universe works. The universe is a mystical place. It's a place where what appears isn't the whole story. There's something more behind the story, something that you can't see. There's an element that's not apparent, not obvious. And it's really hard to get there only through the left brain. In fact, it's probably impossible to get there only through the left brain. It's why we have to go from our head to our heart if we're going to discern truth. Discernment is a matter not of the mind, but of the heart. It's a matter of resonance. Some people don't like that. Fundamentalists don't like that. What do you mean resonance? It means what it says. God said it. I believe it. That settles it. Which is a fundamentalist Christian attitude. And perhaps you could apply other religions there as well. And probably even scientific people that said, that's the way it is. You know, it's obvious. Can't you see it? Why can't you see it? Because seeing isn't just with the eyes. It's with these eyes, but these eyes in the heart. The eyes of the heart. It's combining our body with our mind and trusting our gut and understanding that when it says non-resistance, it's not talking about standing up for what's right and what's true and standing against injustice. And when it says non-judgment, it's not about not being discerning. Discernment is essential, absolutely essential. And non-attachment, well, it's not about trying to fix everything so that it never changes. It embraces the change. You see, these words have dual meanings, and many words, most words perhaps, do have dual meanings. Which side are you looking at it from? And it's hard to get when all you're doing is thinking and not feeling also. You have to employ the intuitive sense, which comes through feeling. And spirituality has to do with emotions. It has to do with our feelings. It's why when in the workshop, Art Sellers used to say, we are like a four-bladed fan. And we get the mental and the physical down pretty much. That's one blade. But on the other blade, there is the spiritual and the emotional. And people may have spiritual, but they'll substitute religion, which moves it from that blade up to the mind. And they only try to interpret it through the mind, through the mental aspects. And this is where we get in trouble. This is what slays us, because we don't come from a place of love when we do that. We come from a place of self-righteous judgment. I'm right. Can't you tell? I'm the one that's right in this. And when we stubbornly implant our feet in our lives in a particular idea, and we don't see beyond that. And we are totally resistant to any idea of a change, any idea of something else, something new. And we get locked in, and we get stuck in our lives because we can't get beyond the mental framework. And I'm trying to, as best I can in my left brain, to explain to you how the right brain works. And it's why when I say, well, that didn't resonate with me, I mean, it left an incongruity that it wasn't, I knew, I felt, it wasn't the whole picture. It wasn't enough. It's why when I took that phrase in the Mystics in Training class, I said, well, I disagree with that. I've broken every one of those rules, and if I didn't break them, I wouldn't still be in my house. And I explained. They allowed me to explain, and they appreciated my explanation, because that's the literal interpretation that I was talking about. But there is the other interpretation. If I'm going to be moving from my self-righteous pain body or my wounded inner child, life is going to appear, well, this is what happened to me. Why shouldn't I be angry? And you're right. But you're not completely right. Because if you hang on and you freeze and you just don't resist that anger and realize there's more that it's telling you, and the judgments that go along with it and the attachments that go along with it, if you aren't willing to release those, you get stuck and you stop growing. And that's why we have to come back karmically and repeat the grade until we get a passing mark, until we get the idea that it's embracing the bigger picture. It's looking at it holistically. The opposites are a dance. And when we're stuck in our fundamentalist mind, our left brain, or in the mental body, when we're stuck there, we can't see the way out, because the way out is to go beyond that. And that's so hard for people to get, so difficult, which is why Jesus said, broad is the gate that leads to destruction, and many there be that go in thereat. Broad. Everybody gets stuck here because we don't want to live with our whole being. We don't see ourselves holistically. We don't see the big picture of who we are, that we've always been children of God. We could have never been anything else, because everything that's here is God's creation, whether it's good or evil, whether it's light or dark, whether it's masculine or feminine, whether it's positive or negative, and that one especially is a label. But scientifically, it makes sense. It's the positive charge and the negative charge. We understand that electrons and protons and stuff like that are positive and negatively charged particles that dance with each other or rotate around each other, or do this dance of inner shell and outer shell and moving. It's constantly moving. It's constantly changing. We've got to realize that it's not fixed. Everything in creation moves. Everything in creation changes. And when we don't get that, we get stuck and do not come from the heart, do not come from love, do not come from the feminine. We divorce the feminine, and even women do that. It's not just men that do that. They divorce the feminine and they try to live in the masculine left brain thing, and it doesn't. It gets them frustrated, just like I'm frustrated with the left brain workings of Microsoft. I don't understand why they keep wanting you to change your password to something else, and why they don't accept the password that you already used that password. Well, yes, because it's one that I can remember, of course. And I have a few varieties of passwords that I can remember, but I have to keep going back and checking which one I used where, because I would like to just use one password and be done with it, so that it's one that I would always remember and never get stuck on. But sometimes I use the Gmail password for Hotmail, and that doesn't work. Can you see what I'm saying? My left brain wants something that works every time, and Microsoft is not letting me do that. That's my left brain wanting my life to be ordered in a certain way. But life isn't always ordered in that way. So anyway, what I'm wanting you to understand today is I like Eckhart Tolle. I like reading books like that. I like reading the Bible. Okay? But I can take a certain thing in the Bible, or in this case, in A New Earth. I can take a certain saying, and it can mean two different things depending on whether you're looking at it from how we live in this world to how our pain body takes things, and our analytical mind wants to lock everything into one only meaning. There's only one possible way you can look at this. It's rational. Well, that rationalism doesn't cut the mustard. It doesn't work. It doesn't produce a peaceful, loving environment for us, not even within our own being. And so we're always at war. And we need to wake up and grow up and understand what Jesus said. The letter kills. the left brain, the rational mind kills. But the heart, the spirit, understanding the integration point, getting to that balance point within yourself, that's where life comes from. That's where discernment comes from. That's when your life starts to get more fun. Except for Microsoft. Oh, so I hope that in my sharing with you this morning, that you understand and can see the picture that I'm trying to paint for you of being willing to get out of your narrow-minded mindset, your self-righteous mindset, and to accept that God is bigger, life is bigger, the cosmos is bigger. The way it is bigger than what we've imagined it could be or it was. It's more than that. It's always more, so that we can continue to grow and continue to have life be happy instead of always so frustrating like I've felt and still feel. I still have to resolve some of those issues. So thank you for listening to my sometimes rambling message from today. I love you. Namaste.